This is Straight Talk with it by the native Greg Fann, the Preacher Man, and his sidekick Shanan Jones. Frank discussions of issues affecting the ATL, Fulton County, the state of Georgia, the nation, and around the world. And now, here they are, live and in living color, the team of Jones and Fann, the Preacher Man.
Well, welcome today to another edition of Straight Talk with yours truly, Greg Fann, the Preacher Man. As you can see, the late Shanan E. Jones is not here. The late Shanan E. Jones is not here. We got a great program planned for you today. We're going to be talking about the filibuster. The filibuster that's being held in the Senate that's holding up the legislation for S1 and SB1 and H1, which was passed by the Senate. That's the John Lewis bill, a civil rights bill, voting rights bill, and the freedom to vote bill that's been presented by Mr. Manchin and some others to get back to where we need to be in terms of voting. John Lewis bill dealing with pre-clearance and making sure that people who abusing the rights of people to vote, like myself and others of color, that had to go back to the Justice Department to get approval to change any voting right laws. Okay, and then the freedom to vote bill, similar things, but not totally the things that Congressman Lewis, the late Congressman Lewis bill was about. But we're going to talk a little bit more about filibustering and how the filibustering is not only holding up that bills, but holding up other bills, because those bills are bills that can't go forward until the filibuster ends. So it's a lot to learn about filibustering and what's going on and how it affects us as the citizens of the United States of America. Well, we'll be back with more right here on Straight Talk with yours truly, Greg Fann, the Preacher Man, and perhaps the late Shanan E. Jones will be here a little later on. He's probably going to come with an excuse. He was checking the traffic. He had this. He was doing this. Looking at the weather. All those kinds of things. He'll have an excuse. But anyway, we'll be right back after this Black History Fact. I'm Greg Fann, the Preacher Man, right here on Straight Talk with Black History Facts with Brother James Brooms.
This is Gilbert Mason. Gilbert Mason was born October 7, 1928 in Jackson, Mississippi. Gilbert Mason received his primary education there, then went on to Tennessee State University, graduating in 1949 with his B.S. degree, and later Howard University, where he received his M.D. degree in 1954. Dr. Gilbert R. Mason moved to Biloxi, Mississippi in 1955, where he established his family medical practice. It was there that he met another black doctor, Felix Dunn of Gulfport, Mississippi, who was also the leader of the Gulfport branch of the NAACP. Compelled to ensure civil liberties for all, Dr. Mason was a drum major for freedom, who, on many occasions, was the first among a small band of conscientious, courageous citizens in Mississippi to peacefully agitate for equal access, equal economic justice, positive social change, as well as equal protection under the law. Dr. Mason, along with allies Aaron Henry, Fannie Lou Hamer, and Medgar Evers, joined forces to combat injustices in one of this nation's most notorious bastions for segregation, Mississippi. Dr. Mason helped organize Mississippi's very first nonviolent protest in Biloxi, known as the Wade-Ins. These protests were designed to desegregate Biloxi's 26-mile-long public beach, which had been created with public funding. Now, between the lunch counter sit-ins in Greensboro, North Carolina, and the famed Freedom Riders, the Wade-Ins of Biloxi, Mississippi, for the most part have gone unnoticed, even though they did serve as a litmus test for future segregation challenges. After the Wade-In, an NAACP branch was established in Biloxi, Mississippi, with Dr. Mason being chosen as its president. This position he held proudly for the next 34 years. Dr. Mason helped to organize voter registration drives. He helped to aid in eliminating the poll tax and literacy tests. Dr. Mason was also instrumental in the organizing of COFO, the Council of Federated Organizations. COFO's objective was to better coordinate all the civil rights groups that were launching their protests throughout Mississippi. After publishing his memoirs in 2000, Dr. Gilbert R. Mason Sr. died on July 8, 2006. He was 82 years old. Dr. Gilbert R. Mason Sr. They forget all about him, but we won't.
It's been Black History Facts with Brother James Broom right here on Straight Talk. Join us each and every Friday from 7 p.m. until 8 p.m. with yours truly, Greg Fann, the Preacher Man, and Shanan E. Jones. And do share these Black History Facts with your family and friend, and do tune in to Straight Talk. Won't you? It ain't nothing but straight talk. Well, y'all, here he is, the late Shanan. What happened? What happened? What happened? What was the reason why you were late today? What was I had to fix your mic. I want you to be clear when you tell us about the weather report or the accident that was on South Fulton Parkway, Roosevelt Highway. Tell us about it.
There was an overturned vehicle. Once upon a time.
You did what? Now say that again.
There was an overturned vehicle once upon a time, and it had lingering issues causing the concrete to break up. And when cars run on it, they break their tires and all kind of stuff, and it causes all kind of gridlock. You want to stay away from the Roosevelt Highway area.
Okay, so what you're saying, it was a pothole in the street.
A series of, and if you want to call it a street, it's a continuation of potholes.
Well, here he is, ladies and gentlemen, with his report today. Listen.
And the weather is fine. It's great weather.
Oh, ain't it great weather? It really is. It really is. This is my birth month, month of October. Yeah. So y'all can send me a birthday shout out. Send me a birthday shout out. That'll be good.
Put your Cash App up there.
Huh?
Put your Cash App up there.
No Cash App. No Cash App. Don't send cash. Just drop it by the church.
Something for you. I can't let you have your birthday all by yourself.
Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh my God. Jesus. Thank you, Lord. Yeah. I got $2.
When I was in college,
yeah.
My grandmother would, she would, every year she would send you however you old were.
Right.
Send you that in a card.
Right.
5 years old, 6 years old, 7. I got to college.
Right.
I needed some money.
Right.
She gonna send me $19. I had to call up. Look, we got to stop this. This got to change. I need you to send me at least 119.
Woo! Grandma was doing the best she could. She was showing love.
Ooh, that former school teacher, she could have done well by that Seville.
But anyway, Shanan, we're going to be talking and we're going to be showing to the viewers today and the listeners how the Senate works. This whole thing about this filibuster and holding up Senate Bill 1 and House Bill, the John Lewis bill for voters' rights.
For the People Act.
And for the people, and the one for the People Act, the Senate
Freedom
bill.
to vote.
Yeah, so we need to let people know how it works.
Yeah.
And how the filibuster holds up other bills.
Yeah.
Other bills. So listen, we're gonna show that to you. It's about 6 minutes. Don't go nowhere. We'll be talking more about it after we come back from this.
What we are going to do in this video is discuss the United States Senate. We're going to focus not only on areas where the Senate has special influence where the House of Representatives does not, but we'll also focus on how the Senate actually conducts business. And as we'll see, the processes and the rules that the Senate uses makes it more difficult for a simple majority to do what they want. So in terms of special influence, only the Senate, not the House of Representatives, is involved in ratifying treaties. So the executive, the president, they can negotiate a treaty, but it does not become effective, binding from a United States point of view until it is ratified by the United States Senate. And it has to be ratified by a 2/3 supermajority. And this is one of the reasons why it is viewed that the Senate has more influence on foreign relations than the House of Representatives. The other area that the Senate is involved is in confirming appointments. These could be appointments to the president's cabinet. These could also be judiciary appointments. It could be to lower federal courts or to the United States Supreme Court. The House of Representatives, once again, is not involved. But to appreciate just how things go through the Senate, whether we're talking about appointments or even if we're talking about general legislation, let's remind ourselves the overall process. So let's just say that this is a piece of legislation right over here. It could have been drafted by a staffer for a senator, maybe with help from some constituents or from some special interest groups, maybe some lobbyists, and it will be introduced to an appropriate committee by a senator or by a group of senators. For example, if this legislation is about the armed services, it would go to the Armed Services Committee. Now, the committee could decide to have some hearings around the legislation. Maybe they bring in the Secretary of Defense. Maybe they bring in some military leaders and ask them questions about their views about whether the legislation is a good idea or not, or they just want general context. Then they might also have some debate, and then they might decide to vote on that legislation. And if that vote passes, if they get a majority in that committee, then it will go to the Senate floor. Now, before we even talk about what happens on the floor of the Senate, because that's where things get really interesting, it's important to point out that even within committee, the leadership has a lot of influence, and the leadership is generally controlled by the majority party. Because the leadership might decide that, hey, you know what, they're not interested in this bill. So instead of going through this process here, they might just decide to table the bill, which kind of just puts it into a limbo. But let's talk about the reality where it does get voted on, it does get a majority, and it goes to the Senate floor. Now, what's going to happen next in the Senate floor is a debate over that bill. And I'm writing debate in caps because the Senate is famous for its debates. And the whole idea of ending a debate so that you can vote is critical inside of the Senate. Once you get to the vote, if we're talking about a general piece of legislation, if we're talking about an appointment, then you just need a simple majority. So you just need 51 votes to pass. Now, some of you might be saying, wait, hold on a second. I've always heard that in the Senate, in order to do anything, you need a supermajority. You might have heard the 60 vote number. The reason why you hear that is because many times the folks who do not want to have a vote, especially if they think that the vote is going to go against them, that one senator or it could be a group of senators that say, hey, I want to keep debating on it. And this protracted debate is known as a filibuster, which is a very strange word. It was originally in reference to pirates, but it came to mean folks who are trying to hold up the legislation process. And it's become a mechanism by which the folks who don't want the vote, who might be against the bill, who might be in the minority, they might not have enough votes to defeat the bill, might still try to hold things up. Now, the reason why you've heard about 60 votes is because, generally speaking, that is how you stop a filibuster. If you want to stop a filibuster, you need to do something called cloture, or another way of thinking about it is closure of the debate so that you can get to a vote. And the reason why you hear 60 votes is for general legislation, you need 60 votes in order to have cloture. So even though you only need 51 votes for the legislation to pass once you vote on it, to even get to that point, you need 60 votes. And this is why you hear that for legislation to actually get through the Senate, you need 60 votes. Now, there is an exception to this, and that exception is around appointments. Prior to 2013, in order to have cloture for an appointment, you also needed 60 votes. But in 2013, it was decided that for non-Supreme Court appointments, you only needed 51 votes for cloture. And then in 2017, this was extended also to Supreme Court appointments. And so now for appointments, you only need 51 votes for cloture to end a filibuster. And of course, you only need 51 votes for the confirmation. So functionally, you just need a simple majority now in the Senate for confirmations. But legislation, you need 60 votes. And of course, for things like treaties, you need a 2/3 supermajority. To convict someone in an impeachment, say the president, you need a 2/3 supermajority. And like the House, if we're talking about overriding a presidential veto or amending the Constitution, you need a 2/3 majority. Now, what I've just talked about, it isn't extensive, it isn't exhaustive of all of the processes in the Senate, but hopefully it gives you appreciation of, one, areas where the Senate has special influence, and also how the rules and processes of the Senate can be leveraged by either majority parties or minority parties in order to get things done, and how in the Senate, it is harder for a simple majority to do whatever they want.
Well, I tell you, this filibustering thing is something else, isn't it?
Man.
It really is.
Oh, man.
I know you got some history you want to just share, but I wanted to share this with those that are, because we of color, we have suffered many things in the Voting Right Act and the things that they've done to try to get us, the right to vote was constitutional. We should have the right to vote, right, like everybody else. So, however, what the most telling one for us during my age, especially because I was born in the 50s, it was Ron Thurman used the filibuster to try to take the rights of us from voting away. For 24 hours and 18 minutes, he debated the Civil Rights Bill. For 24 hours and 18 minutes, he filibustered to make sure that bill would not pass in 1957. But his filibustering failed. The bill did pass. But it was a lukewarm bill, but it was the beginning of bills passing that was helping us, people of color, to have the right to vote.
Yeah. The history of it, and I think the presentation was great.
Sure.
The history of it was, I think, 1806. Vice President Aaron Burr, presiding over the Senate, as the Vice President does, put this filibuster rule in place over the simple majority as a simple housekeeping rule. And they had other options that they could do. It didn't have to be the filibuster. In other words, the Senate has varying things that they can do to get legislation through or to block legislation.
Right.
But they are living in this space now of this filibuster rule. And what it's ultimately doing, it's not only dividing the Senate, but it's allowing for the division of the country to continue to go. So it's a very dangerous thing. And this Kyrsten Sinema and Joe Manchin, well, that's a whole nother discussion.
That's another discussion. But listen, they changed the rule, and we're going to show something in a minute of Senator Reid and Mitch McConnell. And when Obama was there, and he was trying to get a judge appointed, right?
Right.
And they filibustered to kill that appointment, right? They changed the rule to their rule in terms of they set their own rules as to how they're going to conduct their business, and that's what the filibuster is their rule as to how they conduct their business, right? How they're going to operate as a Senate. So what they did was and we'll see it with Mr. Reid and Senator Reid and Senator McConnell and their debate, right? Because they were the two minority and majority leaders that were debating changing the rules of the filibuster at that time.
Right.
So what we have is you have them saying, okay, now we'll change the rules for appointments, So you don't have to worry about the filibuster. You can go straight to the
simple majority.
Simple majority, right?
50 plus 1.
50 plus 1, right? Go to that. But then what's interesting in this clip is that Mitch McConnell said at that time that why change the rule if for the Supreme Court judges, they don't do nothing no way.
Right.
But then when
a court that doesn't have enough to do.
Enough to do, basically, that's what he said. They don't have enough to do anyway. So, but then he came back when Trump became president, changed the rules for the appointment for judges. The hypocrisy of that Senate, the hypocrisy of what they say and actually do is two different things. You got to hear it yourself, and we're going to show it to you. And yes, well, man, stay there. Don't you go nowhere. This is Education 101.
The American people believe Congress is broken. The American people believe the Senate is broken. and I believe the American people are right. For the first time in the history of our republic, Republicans have routinely used the filibuster to prevent President Obama from appointing an executive team or confirming judges. The rule change will make cloture for all nominations other than the Supreme Court a majority threshold vote, yes or no. The Senate is a living thing, and to survive it must change, as it has over the history of this great country.
Once again, Senate Democrats are threatening to break the rules of the Senate, in order to change the rules of the Senate. And over what? Over what? Over a court that doesn't even have enough work to do? The majority leader promised, over and over again, that he wouldn't break the rules of the Senate in order to change them. And let's not forget about the raw power at play here. On this point, the similarities between the Obamacare debate and the Democratic threat to go nuclear on nominations are inescapable.
It's time to change. It's time to change the Senate before this institution becomes obsolete. So I say to my Republican colleagues, you don't have to like the laws of the land, but you do have to respect those laws and acknowledge them and abide by them. Consistent and unprecedented obstruction by the Republican caucus has turned advise and consent into deny and obstruct.
Look, if advise and consent is to mean anything at all, occasionally consent is not given.
Check this out.
But by any objective standard, Senate Republicans have been very, very fair to this president.
Is the Senate working now? Can anyone say the Senate is working now? I don't think so.
Well, that was, I mean, just, there you have it. There you have it. I mean, here they are, Obama's choice, I've mispronounced his name, Merrick Garland, who's now the Attorney General. Obama's trying to put him on the Supreme Court. They need the rules to be changed. And at that time, Mitch McConnell couldn't understand it. I don't understand. This is crazy. Why would we waste our time doing this for that little old most important court in the whole country?
The whole country. They don't have no work.
They don't have no work to do.
There's something, but you know,
a whole branch of government
that has no work to do. That has no work to do. Right? Okay. Right. They got a lot of work to do. They just dealt with abortion. They're dealing with a lot of issues. They even dealt with whether or not this Supreme Court just dealt with whether or not the states have the right to change laws. The Texas, I think it was Texas. Was it Texas that they ruled on? It was some no, Arkansas. It was Arkansas, wasn't it?
Yeah.
It was Arkansas. I believe it was Arkansas.
Which state? They did what?
They changed the rule. They had the right to change their rules on voting. The states had the right. They upheld the state to change their rules on voting. I think it was Arkansas. Arizona. So they don't have nothing to do, but now they do to uphold what they want.
Right. Exactly.
Okay. So I wanted to say, you heard him say about the nuclear option.
Yeah.
That's another option that they have, right?
Yeah.
That they could do in terms of changing their rules, that the president of the Senate can move to have a vote to change the rule as engagement. He said they threatened to do that, right? And they did attempt to do it, but it did not pass.
They didn't get the 50.
They didn't get the 50 to change
plus one
to change the rule, but they did change the rule in order to apply back then for appointments only, right? But when, as we said earlier, when Trump wanted his person, they changed the rule to get the appointment that he wanted.
Kavanaugh on the Supreme Court.
Put him on the Supreme Court.
And to backdoor and allow all those federal judges
to be appointed.
Right. And people say Trump didn't do nothing. Oh, yes, he did.
He did a
He did a whole lot in terms of, so go to court. and find out. Go to federal court.
Yeah.
Go to appeals court.
Yep.
And find out what he did.
Boy, they done took us
Put
back.
a whole lot of judges on the court.
And they've taken us back. And they're going, and we're going back and back and back. Last week, people talked about Haiti. Our program, Haiti. Got a lot of comments from people talking about they really enjoyed it to see what was really going on. That's why I was saying, they were saying that people said our program is informational, it's informative, because we seek to inform.
Exactly.
We seek to share information with you that you can share with us. And don't forget to subscribe to our channel.
Please
subscribe to the channel. It's Straight Talk with yours to the great fan, the preacher man, and my sidekick, Shanan E. Jones. Listen,
traffic reporter.
Traffic reporter, weather reporter, sports announcer.
Well, I just want to know we do more than we're not just always in the studio.
Yeah, we're not.
We're out there,
Well, who's playing this week?
I hope it ain't the Falcons. I think we need a bye week.
Well, y'all won last week.
We need a bye week. That's right. That's what I'm saying. We need to celebrate. We're on a high right now, as high as we can get.
Oh, boy, I tell you. Well,
who the Steelers playing?
The Steelers are playing. They're playing this week. Don't worry about it. They're playing. We got a game this week. Well, I want to, Shannon. We need to talk about clergy with a candle. Yes. We need to talk about clergy with a candle because I'm so excited about this. So much is happening with our young people. Yeah. We're going to talk about that on another show. What's going on with the young people and this
City High School.
Yeah, all that's going on. The killing and the gang violence in the school and jumping on teachers and just the whole gamut of what's going on in our educational system with our young people and their disrespect for authority.
What do you think is? What? Just pastor to pastor, straight talk to straight talk, man to man.
Mano a mano. Yes, sir.
What's going on?
Well, I really think this going on. I shared this with my wife this morning. I said, I believe as men of God and people of faith, believers, the Bible comes true when it talks about the spirit of the Antichrist. And what we're seeing is the spirit of the Antichrist. If you really think about it, if you really think about what's going on, Moses went up on a mountain and he left the children of Israel down there waiting on him to come back. Well, and when Moses came back, they were partying, they were drinking, they were just doing some of everything, killing folks. Just finna kill young lady. Let's just look at what was going on. As we look at what is trending in our society today, and God keeps sending warnings through this pandemic. He keeps sending warnings, but we ain't heeding to the warnings. The Antichrist has got our people so caught up on the lust of the flesh and the fleshly things of the world that we're missing out on the spiritual things of God, of what God is showing us. And our young people have bought into it with the rap music because the music is causing them to act that way. The what we see on TV is causing them to drive fast because they see driving fast driving, and they out there spinning in the street. They're spinning wheels in the street, doing U-turns in the middle of the street. Just not have lost the sense of reality of what's really they're really doing. It's like they're in a make-believe world. It's like those games. Even the games have really got them absorbed because they think they're gaming.
So they're in an alternative world.
Which
is what intersectionality and postmodernism is bringing out our young. It's in the music. It's in the hip-hop cultures and social media. And it's everybody. It's the scripture. Everybody did what was right.
Right.
In their own eyes. Everybody did what was right in their own eyes. I was on a road and a brother just peels out and, like you said, just did donuts. And
yeah, I did. They happened to me too.
And we just all supposed to sit and wait. But listen, in your day, James Dean and all these guys drove fast cars.
Right, they did.
But you didn't get out there and do that. because I think there was probably somebody at home that mama or daddy but somebody at home was going to help you. My father, who's a filmmaker,
Right.
he had a saying: if you want to go to Hollywood, in other words, if you're going to get off script and you're going to go into your own, if you want to go to Hollywood, I'll be your blank blank director. And then he say action. You understand? So what kept me straight was that, you know, I had to go home.
I know that's real.
You understand? And that kept me straight. I mean, the whole thing about my family name and shaming my family, that was there too, but that was in theory.
That was in theory.
There was something always practical to back up mom and dad's theory. And the scripture said, again, if you spare the rod,
It spoiled the child.
and I just think we have a lot of rotten situation going on here. And the rod is not always, you know, the rod can taking the phone away. The rod can be staying in the
your
house,
room.
in
Yeah.
your room, cleaning your room. The rod can be going to clean that bathroom or go up on the roof and clean out the gutters this weekend instead of going to do this and that other, cutting that TV off.
Taking the keys from that car.
Right. That's the rod. I wish my dad had used all that kind of stuff.
No,
That
no,
wasn't
no.
the
He
rod
had
I
the
got.
real
No,
rod.
I got the real rod.
But you know, when you say that though, and I think about this, and really, I want you to think about it too. My dad and mom was not my friend. They didn't pretend to be my friend.
That's right.
They were my dad and they were my mom. My kids will tell you to this day, I'm not your friend, I'm your daddy. We won't party together. If I'm at a social event and you are at a social event, if it's a party or something like that, we will not party together. If there is a family reunion or something like that, yes, we can be together, but you will stay in your place and I will stay in my place, and we will respect each other's place. But we have parents today that want to be kids' friend. They want to be their kids' friend, not their parent. You can't be a friend of your kid. You have to be the parent, because that's what's going on. A lot of kids, they don't understand the difference between the two. We grew up as friends. Now that I'm getting older, I can talk back to you. You don't want to hear me talking back to you, but you've always allowed me to talk back to you. Those basic values that we grew up on are totally gone and out the window. And young people wonder why now their children are off the chain. They're off the chain because you raised them to be off the chain.
And I don't reverence you.
Yeah, I don't reverence you.
So if I'm your friend, then when the day comes when you want to usurp you want to establish your authority.
You know, I said we were going to talk about this later, but we all into it now.
Oh, man.
But this
it's
going on.
What's going on?
It's going
but I mean,
on.
it warrants us to talk about it later.
Right. We're going to talk about it later. We got to talk about it later because this is straight talk. And I want to say this before we get to our close, and you talk about the light of clergy with a candle. It's important, parents. It's important, parents, that you raise a child.
That's right.
And you don't let the child raise you. You don't buy the child. You love the child, but you don't buy the child. Right. Because guess what? You can't buy your child. That's right. You can't buy it. There's not enough that you can give your child that you can buy your child, that your child will want to respect you. They will disrespect you more than respecting you because they need someone in authority. They need to understand the delineation between authority and friendship. They need to understand that you are the one in authority. When I say don't go in that refrigerator, I mean don't go in that refrigerator. I don't care if you want to go in the refrigerator, but that's not your refrigerator, it's mine. And I give you the privilege to go in that refrigerator,
including the clothes.
The clothes.
They're your clothes.
Let me tell this story, and we're gonna close out.
I just gotta say
one
thing because if I don't respect you,
right,
and you teach me that, then ultimately I'm not gonna respect teacher, police officer. Mm-hmm. But then I learned my concept of respect and the honor and reverence of God started with the do nots and the do's of my mother and father, father and mother. That's where that began for me. And I
don't you be taking it off that table. Even as a little boy, when you grab something,
right?
No.
And I associated.
Yeah.
I associated that father with my father God.
Right.
You understand?
Right.
That's where that was. So I honored God because I never broached that relationship of father and mother.
Right.
They had their place. I stayed in my place.
Right.
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 And that's the way we were raised. But go ahead, tell that story.
And you still stand in your place.
I still stand
because you know your dad is still crazy.
Probably shoot me.
Hey, listen, I got to tell this story. This is a true story. And I want you to hear it in the content that I'm giving it in. And I was just talking about the refrigerator and this kind of stuff. But there was a gentleman, he and his wife. They were at home watching a movie. And the TV went out. So the son had a TV in his room. He wasn't watching. He wasn't at home. So the mom and dad went in. Dad said, well, I'll just get Junior's TV, bring it in here. We can finish watching the movie. And so the dad brought the TV in the room, and they began to finish watching the movie. Well, Junior comes home. Junior goes in his room. Well, he goes in their room, which he calls his room, which because they said it's his room, but really, technically, it was their room. So he comes in, he sees the TV gone, and he looks, and he goes in the room where his mom and dad is. He said, hey, that's my TV. And the mom said, yes. She said, we're watching a movie. He said, but that's my TV. So the mom said, but can't your dad and I are watching this movie, he said, but it's my TV. Dad said, hold it. In a conversation, we bought it for him. Dad took the TV, took it in the room, put it back where he got it from. Then he went and cut the lights off in the hall. He said, you watch your TV because these is my lights. So you got to teach them that they don't own anything. They don't have anything. You pay the rent, you pay the light bill, you pay the gas bill, you pay all the bills. All of those things, you make it convenient for them to have a decent life, but you got to teach them the difference between respecting authority. Respecting authority.
Consequences.
The consequences of not respecting authority. Yeah. Because when we saw what was happening over at Tri-City with the young lady and how she was in a rage with all the adults in the room and cussing and raising all kinds of saying stuff that I would say, stuff that I would say, and other adults might say, but she totally disrespected every adult in the room and then swung on the teacher. Just it's something we would never ever think in our life about doing, because what our parents would do if we did that, if we have done that, oh Lord have mercy, we wouldn't be here today to tell you about it.
Anybody from Mays High listening right now, I'm just saying this. This not a maze against
watching. I understand. But the parents
swing on Mr. Atkins. Swing on Coach Mack.
Whoa.
Swing on him. I used to watch the principals. It was an everyday thing. Mm-hmm. You walk in the hall, and the principal. You see the principal got somebody. The assistant principal got some boy jacked up off his feet. That didn't happen. We fought each other.
Right.
But now when it didn't have to. The little old science teacher could come in there and break the fight up.
She just said, y'all stop. Y'all
kept that down. You break it up and then they go on. But today they're turning, man.
Cuss that little old teacher out. I try to throw up against the one eye, the one.
The thought never came to my mind to do that.
It's ridiculous.
To Mr. Atkins.
It's ridiculous. But God is still yet in control. God is still yet in control. Well, crazy. I'll leave it alone when we talk about other stuff. And
when your principal back, you wouldn't have done that to Booker T. Washington.
Man, J.Y. Moulton was running first and down. No,
I said Booker T. Washington.
My first principal was J.Y. Moulton. The late J.Y. Moulton. And those who are listening know about J.Y. But listen, let me just say this as we get ready to close out. Shannon's going to talk about Thursday with Accountable. We'll be talking about more about this, and we want to get your comments. So don't forget to subscribe to our channel. Subscribe, and send it to your Facebook friends. Shannon? Clergy with a candle.
Bishop Canyon's going to tell you about it, but on this coming Thursday at 6 o'clock, we need all of the clergy that's listening right here, that's under the sound of our voices. We want you to join us at the church at Trinity. Oh, goodness.
It's Abundant Truth, the church. So it's Abundant
I got
Truth.
all these churches.
Yeah, that's right.
But anyway, Bishop Canyon's going to come, and he's going to give you the pitch, Bishop Michael Canyon, to tell you about what it is that we're doing. Listen, we just got through talking about the darkness that's creeping into our community. We just got through talking about that. All the way through, from the filibuster to the children in the schools, to all of the other things that we have been looking at. There's a darkness, there is a malaise that is over our city, our state, our country, our world. But the gang violence and the shootings that are upticking now that we have not seen since the days before the Million Man March. We're seeing pre-Million Man March days. Remember that march when almost 2 million brothers came together? I stepped on a brother's Converse, I'll never forget. And I said, oh my goodness, I stepped on this brother. And I looked up, it was a big old brother. As I looked up to say, excuse me, the brother said, man, it's all right today. You can step over them all day long. It was a day of euphoria. Listen, that day, the reason why we had to come together was because of all of the darkness and the violence. So, in this day, on October the 7th at 6 o'clock, Bishop Canyon's going to tell you where you can join with us to come together to be the light that shines in the darkness. The light that shines in the darkness. The light that shines dispels the darkness. And where does that begin? It begins with the leadership. It begins with the clergy coming outside of the four walls, coming into community together so that we can touch, see, embrace, pray for, correct, hear, listen, learn firsthand about what's really going on in these streets. So I need you, clergy, associate pastor, seminarian, I need you to join with us. Whoever you are, para-ministry leader, prayer warrior, I need you to join with us and be with us for Clergy with a Candle.
God bless you. This is Bishop Canyon. I'm extending an invitation to you to join us October the 7th at 6 o'clock. Clergy with the Candles. We're going to be praying and marching. Listen, I want you to come. At 6 o'clock, I want you to meet me at my church, the Assembly of Truth, 350 Hills Avenue, Atlanta, Georgia, Southwest. We're going to be praying. We're going to be seeking God. We're going to be making our presence felt. October the 7th at 6 o'clock. I'm looking forward to seeing you there.
Thank you, Bishop Canyon. Join us as we march around the city praying against violence. So much gun violence, we need you clergymen to come and join us on October the 7th from 6 p.m. until 8 p.m. Come and be a part of a prayer vigil and a prayer walk. We'll start at 350 Hills Avenue, Atlanta, Georgia, 30313 at the Assembly of Truth Church, where Bishop Canyon is the pastor. You don't want to miss it. Be a part of praying the walls of Satan down. And for more information, you can call 44756-7546. That's 44756-7546. Well, thank you so much for watching Straight Talk today with yours truly, Greg Fann, the Preacher Man, and Shanan E. Jones, as we bring you informative information, and we want to hear more from you. Keep those comments coming. Keep those comments coming. We just want to know what you think about what we are doing. As we lift up the bloodstained banner of Jesus, as he said, if I be lifted up from the earth, I'll draw all men unto you. And as we keep you informed with what's going on, it ain't nothing but straight talk. Listen, as we get ready to go, Shanan, what do you got to say? You gonna be on Travel Report next week, or you gonna be on Travel Report next week, or you gonna be on? Are you gonna be on
It all depends on what the situation is and what the demand is at the time. If the demand is for me to be out there, then I'll be out there. If the demand is there for that.
Let me ask you a question, though. I do have a question I
Yes,
want to ask you.
yes.
Since you do all this weather reporting, traffic reporting, all of that reporting, do you glaze the stars at night too?
No.
Are they big and bright in Texas?
No, I haven't been called to do that yet. I don't even think I have the skill set for that. But do you follow my traffic reports when I give?
Not really.
Oh.
Not really. Because I don't go
So
that way.
you're telling me I'm basically
when you
my work is in vain. Is
No.
what you're telling me.
When you tell me
Yeah.
that these things are going on,
Yeah.
I just go the other way.
Well, then you're following it.
That's what. Oh,
Yeah.
so I'm following. Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
You don't get
okay.
stuck in the traffic because you
Well,
missed
I
it.
ain't gonna say I don't get stuck in traffic because Atlanta traffic now. Anywhere you go get stuck.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Anywhere you go stuck.
Even in my neighborhood now, because they got the warehouses, so now you got the big old trucks and.
Oh yeah, listen.
No.
I'm glad you said that. Listen, we got a forum coming up.
I wouldn't have been able to say that if I hadn't been doing the traffic report.
You're right,
You
right.
understand?
We got a
Thank
forum
you.
coming up. We got a forum coming up. Several forums coming up in College Park on October the 5th. So just look on our page and you'll see that forum with the College Park City Council people. We have a forum coming up on the 12th with the East Point City Council people. Just check out our Straight Talk page. You'll see the actual forums that are coming up. We want you to join us in those political forums that's coming up on October 5th, October the 12th. And as always, we love you and ain't nothing you can do about it. And this ain't been nothing but what? Straight Talk!
Want to be a guest on Straight Talk? Email Greg Fann at FANN922 at Comcast.net or call 404-308-0795. Join us again for another episode of Straight Talk with Shanan Jones and Greg Fann, the Preacher Man.